when the bar gets about a third of the way, I think that's a good time to start admitting the people. That's my feel.
I got admitted early, my goodness. Very honored.
All right, so now the folks are rolling in and we are streaming and everything is looking beautiful over there. So welcome to the people in YouTube land. Welcome to the people in the waiting room as you start rolling in there. Okay, there they are. A lot of ViewMaster collectors out there.
Yeah.
Why can't I adjust this? Okay. This meeting will be presented entirely in ViewMasters. Okay, so we'll give people a minute or so just to kind of filter in. Some old things out there. Hopefully Wolfgang will tell us what that is.
That's a coaster somebody 3D printed with the ViewMaster logo.
Oh, okay. Oh, was that the ViewMaster? Was that the right way? I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just don't know the ViewMaster logo.
It's the same logo they used on a focusing viewer, except it's a much larger version.
Okay.
Drink coaster size.
Is that the modern one, or is that a vintage, or is it the same? It's always.
No, it's vintage 60s logo.
Okay. So you get some old-time collectors and then some sort of relatively recent newbies like myself.
Yeah.
So it does seem to have stabilized a tiny bit. So maybe we'll just go ahead and start. I'll just welcome everyone to the ViewMaster SIG. That's the special interest group. So the people here have a special interest in ViewMasters, and it's going to be moderated by Wolfgang Sell and his wife Marianne there. In their that's not a virtual background there. That's a real background. And right. Yep, and they've been going to conventions pretty much longer than most everyone. And this special interest group has taken place for, I think, over 20 years. And generally it's a place to go and for collectors. But so it's still going to be a meeting for collectors, but we'll see kind of how it goes online, and should be an exciting session. So I will pass it over to Wolfgang.
Okay. Well, this is actually the 25th ViewMaster meeting we've had. Marianne and I started this back at the Atlanta NSA convention way back when. And quite honestly, we had much more to talk about back then because ViewMaster was still in business. For all intents and purposes, Basic Fun is now locked in 4 sets of 2 reels. And I doubt we're going to see a whole lot more. So as far as new things, there isn't much. This is the first time, obviously, we've ever tried it this way. Thanks to that nice little COVID that took down the entire world. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a little presentation first. And then after that, we'll have a Q&A, and then we'll just unmute everybody and see what the hell happens. How's that? So anyway, I'm going to do a screen share here and give you a little spiel. Hopefully I don't put you to sleep. My opening screen here is a ViewMaster man. I absolutely love the graphic. They only used it one time in Belgium on one of their boxes, and I've never seen the gentleman again since. I'm going to start it again with this because we've only mentioned this one time at the ViewMaster meetings. The ViewMaster is the only 3D device that actually has a historical marker at Oregon Caves National Monument, and it's the only marker period in any national park or monument for 3D. So this was dedicated in 1975, and the Gruber kids were there, and a bunch of the Graves grandkids were there, and oh, 2015, I'm sorry. I've been watching screen too long here. But anyway, it's the only marker of its kind. If you ever get a chance to go to Oregon Caves, it's right by the lodge. And it basically says that this is the birthplace of ViewMaster, which it is, because this is where William Gruber was shooting with his cameras, and Harold Graves walked in front of his shot, and they got talking, and the ViewMaster resulted. But anyway, I just wanted to remind everybody of that, how famous the ViewMaster actually is. What I'm going to talk about today is very hard to come up with something like this for a meeting online. This is what they call a salesman's pitch book. The pitch book was a book the salesmen had way back when. Instead of a PowerPoint presentation on a laptop, you had a book that you took to your clients. This one is from 1963. This one actually came from the test lab, so this is a partially unfinished version. But most people have never seen these because only the salesmen each got one copy of them. If you look at the front there, there's a decal in the middle on a clear piece of paper for the ViewMaster dealer. They actually had those for the windows. So when you open the clear page, this is what it looks like. So this is the 1963 fall and winter promotion. And Christmas profits come to life. You make lots of money selling ViewMaster. That was the this is their Christmas hit parade. Every packet cover you see in here is an actual packet cover that they cut and glued in. Just the front. Just the front. They went all out on these books. So those are actual packet covers in there. Here they have the Nations of the World series that were coming out, and here's a list of the countries that were available at that point in time. The coin and stamp of each country was included early on. Later on, they ran out of coins, and some of them came without coins. In 1963, the Model G viewer was the big thing. You still had the Model F lighted viewer available. That was $3.95. And the focusing viewer was $6.95. How many would you all like of those for $6.95?
Sorry, Wolfgang, by the way, you can hit enter, and now that you have the screen saved, you should be able to hit enter, I think.
Oh, okay. All right, it worked. Okay. These are the projectors that were available in 1963. You have the standard Model 30 watts, you have a Deluxe 100, and then you have a 300 watter with a fan base. But these weren't stereo, they were just mono. Here we have a few more items that they were selling. You have the library box. You have the later style real album already. You have a screenette and the power source for the lighted viewers. By 1963, they had already done away with the personal camera. It was no longer in the line. They had gone to the European Mark II, which was a huge mistake because the quality of that is about half of what it is in the personal. And they have the Stereomatic there. The Stereomatic at that point was $119 was the retail, and the camera was $79. And you had to have the matching cutter. The personal cutter and the Mark II cutter are not the same. So if you had the personal already and you needed another cutter, you were out of luck. You needed to buy a camera as well. Here they show you some of the promotions they're having. If you notice the picture in the lower left there, it's a real photo that they've glued in, and that is a huge billboard that they photographed that they had all over the country where the pin marks are. This is one of their magazine ads. They would show all these to the dealer and try to convince them to order more because the advertising was so good. They had big newspaper ads. Wasn't quite ready yet, since this is from the test lab. We just have a pencil drawing of what the ad was going to look like. Then they have big magazine ads. These are all the quality magazines, and the magazine ad quality in the newspaper is what they were going for. They actually stuck an ad into the book. When you open it up, you can see the entire ad. Like I said, this is the pitch book. You're supposed to impress people. And if you notice here, we're showing the junior projector and the gift set. That's the only way that was available anymore. You couldn't buy just a projector by itself. It was only in the gift sets, and they had Disney and Bugs Bunny. One of their major advertising things was the Discovery TV show, which ran from 1966 to 71. It was a kids' TV show starring Frank Buxton and Virginia Gibson. Actually won an Emmy Award, and President Eisenhower was even one of the guests. So here's a shot of the Frank Buxton with his dog Corpuscle, is the name of the bloodhound. You also got, if you put an order in, you got $5 of advertising script. This is a sample of that would look like, and you could use that for newspapers, ads, or whatever. Here they show you some of the displays that some of the stores have, and they show you how great the sales are when you have this. Here's a few more. Here I did a close-up of some of the sales things. I wouldn't mind shopping there. I noticed there's some of those Disneyland swing out packets there, and the FBI and a few other things that are quite sought after these days. And here's a close-up of that really fancy one. How would you like to shop there for about an hour? Here are sales displays that the dealers could order. The rack, and you've got a rotary slide viewer with a rear screen projection system there for ViewMaster. Of course, the images that were projected were only 2D. The advertising globe there, the dealer could order for $17.50. And all those great paper items on the right were free with a $200 order. Here are some more of the display racks, early spinner racks. They go anywhere $10. I noticed some are $5. I mean, they're very cheap to the dealers at that point. And then the mass merchandisers had these special gift packs made up that they were supposed to buy. And there again, we see the two theaters, the Disney and the Bugs Bunny. And we go to a Panaview slide section. I didn't scan the whole Panaview section, but again, just to show you how they did it, they actually stuck the Panaview slides in there. And if you look in the middle there, they compare a normal Disneyland slide to the giant Panaview slides. Of course, if you look at it now, even the Disneyland slide is still fine, and the Panaviews are all red. So the slide quality was not nearly what they were making out. This one has a TrueView section. In 1963, the TrueView was already totally cards, and they had the little viewers and multicolors there. You see yellow, blue, green, red. Here are a few more of the different gift packs. The individual cards were 35 cents each. There's a display rack you could order. Here we see the cheap viewer, which was $1, and the deluxe viewer was $2. Another spinner rack. This is an interesting item. It's a TrueView picture gun. Very hard to find, actually. You cock the gun, which looks like a machine gun, and you see picture one of the snake about to attack the monkey. And when you pull the trigger, the picture changes to the dead snake. So I guess that was entertainment back then. TrueView also had projectors, believe it or not, and all the projectors were mono. They would only project one side of the image, and they had special one scene strips for that, which they sold separately. Here's the projection stories. Then they figured out, oh, we can make a little one-eye viewer, and we can sell those separately as well. So those were also available. Now we have a different pitch book. This one is where GAF has taken over, and this one is from 1968. I didn't scan the whole thing like I did on the other one, but their big thing was Captain Kangaroo was their big time advertiser. So they have a photo of him pasted in. Here are some of their packets that they have. You notice Star Trek. You look at the man with the beard, that's Land of the Giants. The Flying Nun, you can see her little wings there. And Peanuts was one of some of the big titles. Jungle Book, Tarzan, the Monkeys. Lassie.
Lassie, the third one.
Oh, third one's Lassie. Okay, Lassie. Those are some of their big titles. The viewers were still on the Model G. The lighted F has been replaced by the H at this point, which is plastic versus the Bakelite, which was much easier to mold because that was injection molded. And the focusing viewer is still available at $9.95, but if you look, it's got a Sawyer's label on it still. So they might have just had a bunch of leftovers at that point. And the final book I'm going to show you belonged to the sales rep for all of South America, which was Chuck White. And his is very interesting because all the glued in packets are in the languages for South America. And there, you could lift each one of those up and you can see all the different versions. Here I've showed you. Chuck White had some very interesting experiences down there. I think it was in Nicaragua. He got to meet Anastasio Samoa, who was the dictator down there. And he introduced themselves and they became very friendly. And then he found out that Chuck was an ex-Air Force fighter pilot and flew jets. They almost didn't let him leave the country. They wanted him to train their Air Force. So after that, Chuck would only meet the representatives for the ViewMaster for Nicaragua in the airport. He wouldn't leave the airport again after that because he was afraid they were going to keep him. The dictator was assassinated shortly after that. He had two sons, both of them took over, and both of them were assassinated. So very friendly country. But anyway, that's Chuck's story. I put my ViewMaster man back in to remind me. The internet has had a hobby offshoot of ViewMaster develop, where people are making fantasy packets. And my friend Bernd Dose from Hanover, Germany, has gotten very good at it. So I'm going to show you a few of these. I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. Now, none of these actually exist, obviously, but these are some of the samples he's made up. Things he'd like to see. We have Mr. Ed. He made one for House of Wax because there is the movie reel, so he made a 7-scene packet for that. He did one of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, which probably would have been the bestseller ViewMaster ever had they actually made that. Shaun the Sheep.
My favorite.
A lot of people like Shaun the Sheep. And we have Halloween. Then you have to remember, he was locked up like the rest of us. So the next few are a little more interesting. We have Strange Events, Moonshiner. If you're not into moonshine, how about a nice German brandy? So we have a packet of brandy. And if you don't like the hard stuff, how about a beer? And all that drinking is going to make you hungry. So how about a ViewMaster packet of burgers? And my absolute favorite one, Nemo wasn't fast enough to get away from the sushi chef. Then we have Strange Events again, the toilet paper hoarding from Corona. and the do-it-yourself masks. My favorite is the shoe. If you use the same spray on that they use at the bowling alley, I guarantee you, you will catch nothing. Then he came up with ungrateful professions, Carl the master plumber. And the last one I'm going to show you, he called it collector's dreams, but the son of a gun actually found this. This is a green Model C made in India. There is one known in the world, and that is it right there. Now for some real news about ViewMaster. Fabio Sabatali in Italy has done a nice book of all the ViewMaster lookalikes, Stereorama and such. This is the cover. Here are a few pages on the inside. It is in English. It's very well done. There are lots and lots of nice photos. Includes all the packets. He's got listings of everything. And it even comes with a reel made by Image 3D to go with it. These are available from 3dworldshop.com, which is Ronald Schellenkamp in Holland. The price is 30 euros. I'm not sure what the shipping is, but if you go to his website, you can order one of these. It's well worth the money. It's an absolutely gorgeous book, and he's done a whole lot of research. And then this is the reel that was given out if you actually registered and sent in 20 bucks. And I feel sorry for those of you that didn't send in your 20 bucks because this reel is gorgeous. You have Chihuly glass in there, and the scenes will knock your socks off. So if you missed this, I'm sure the registrar have some left. Get out your money. Don't be cheap. Order it. It's worth it. Believe me. And that's basically all I've got. So I'm going to open up the question here. I'll see if I can, let me hit escape here. And I got to figure out how to stop my screen sharing here.
All righty. So if people want, I mean, we can try to have it kind of in a structured fashion. If people have any big questions right away, if you can go to the participants tab, the window, and click the little hand icon, that'll bubble you to the top. So here we've got, I'm going to totally butcher your name, Yannick Kiba. So I'm saying you can unmute and you can go ahead. Are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
I'm fascinated with the projector that's 3D. I'm not familiar with that at all. How did that work, and how did the people see the 3D? What kind of glasses were used?
Well, it's called the Stereomatic 500, and it uses a single bulb and a mirror system, and you're actually projecting the slide in 3D. You need a silver screen. You need linear polarized glasses, and basically it's the same projection system that the NSA used for years till we went to the circular polarizers. They work really, really well. You can find them on eBay. I mean, if you want to project them, it's worth having one.
So the polarized glasses, will any old, I mean, like the ones that I bring home from the movie theater, would those work?
No, those will not work. Those are circular polarized.
Oh, okay.
You have to get the older ones.
Okay,
Right.
great.
American Paper Optics has millions available. All you have to do is call them and ask, and they'll send you a couple dozen very reasonably, I think.
Okay.
Just make sure you ask for linear.
Linear.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So next we have Ernie Tangren. So I will unmute you.
Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I want to talk a little bit about creating our own reels. I'm kind of brand new to the ViewMaster stuff. I've been doing stereo photography for years, but I'm kind of a little bit fascinated in making little reels to share some of my pictures with others. And the one thought I had, instead of working with the little chips, with the one picture on each chip, is printing all 14 pictures on one transparency. Has anyone tried that, or can we have a little discussion about making
Yes,
our
you
own
can
reels?
buy those.
Well, what you're what you're talking about, Image 3D has been doing for years. They have a patent on the process. You can just send them your images and they'll make the reels for you.
Yeah, but what about me making my own?
Well, film by itself is not strong enough. You're going to have to support it somehow. You're going to have to.
I know. Well, I was thinking of sandwiching it between two, the two pieces of cardboard. So if you make a regular reel.
Can I speak a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, the tricky part, I mean, when Image 3D started, they were actually, their current process is different, but when they started, it actually was on a sheet of film, all printed at once, laminated on both sides. But the tricky part was, they had to have a very expensive die made to stamp out that circle and have all 14 of the little square notches.
Step 7.
When you advance the reel so that it'll rotate properly. And that's the tricky part. I guess.
Well, you can go buy those. You can go buy them. You can buy these little cardboard things already cut out, die cut and everything.
Well, again, if it's on one big sheet of film, the film is going to be filling in those holes.
Well, you just sandwich the film between two of these, is what I'm thinking.
Maybe.
It's much easier just to use a cutter and cut them out. What you're talking about is making yourself a whole lot of aggravation and extra work.
Okay, I don't know. I just think that working with 14 tiny, little tips of film might be kind of difficult and get them all aligned properly.
No, the whole system was designed. You'll need to get a cutter, but for people who want to do it digitally, I mean, the system that somebody came up with is if you get a film recorder, or there are people that'll do it for you, where you send them your digital images and they put them on 35 millimeter film in exactly the same format that the personal camera would have done. And then you can run it through a film cutter, and then the mounting is easy. They just slip into the reels perfectly.
Ernie.
Or get a personal stereo camera.
Ernie, I tried what you are talking about, and I used transparency like for an overhead projector. It doesn't work. The transparencies, it prints out and it looks like pointillism, looks like dots. It's very, it doesn't
That's the
work.
thing, you got to get a real high resolution.
I tried exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I found the dimensions of the disc online, and I cut out my own holes and everything, and it all lined up. The pictures were terrible.
Yeah, well, the thing I found is that when you print it, you got to have something real that gives you the higher resolution.
We'll certainly look forward to the next convention and see if you've been able to.
Okay, but could we just talk about, does anybody want to talk about just making reels in general, with working with the little chips and everything? I haven't done it yet. And so I don't know if this is something people are interested in, or you move on to something else.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is Eddie. So, I've done it for years, and using the personal stereo camera is the easiest way to do it. I mean, lots of people have tried other ways. Using transparencies is just, you're going to fail because nothing's going to give you the higher resolution, because that's, there's a lot of magnification happening there.
Yeah.
So, but the personal stereo camera it's a great system.
Well, here's
camera. You can, like he said, like David said, you can output it to film and then use the cutter, and it works as well.
Yeah. My only thing is,
I
don't want to go out and have to take all my pictures over again.
Oh yeah.
Well, the cutter works sides at once.
Okay, Eric.
I did one once. I did one once as a Maker Faire project that was going from digital to an analog ViewMaster reel, and the whole thing was handmade. I took my 7 pairs of digital images in Photoshop. I scaled them using a ViewMaster template that allowed me to scale them to fit onto 35 millimeter slide film frames. I could fit 2 pairs on each frame. I used a Polaroid palette digital scanner to actually scan them onto 35 millimeter color slide film. Got the film processed, but not cut. I hand cut the chips, and I actually made the reels using a computer controlled craft cutter to actually cut out of cardstock, and then an adhesive to sandwich everything together. It was interesting as a Maker Faire project, and the reels turned out workable, but I wouldn't advise ever trying to do that again.
Yeah, I've got a fair amount of experience with this, of trying it, but basically I had gotten a template, a Photoshop template that would basically lay out the frames in a particular pattern that's sent to a place that would do film output to slide film, that film strip would go through the ViewMaster personal reel cutter that you would use with the original cameras. And then with having the original ViewMaster mounts, that those went in. I also, yeah, and all I can say is, like, nothing as far as any kind of like home inkjet printable output will be anywhere near usable. And one of the problems is also a lot of the transparency media also has its own texture to it. But there are only, for obvious reasons, there aren't very many output facilities left that do slide output. But there's one in Florida, and I'm hoping post-COVID, they're both still in business. There's one in Florida and there's one in Ohio. But the one in Florida, the resolution of their output, where they're like saying, oh, you know, it's perfect, it's great, but it was super grainy. And I was just like, the stuff that I got back, I just felt looked terrible in a viewer. And the place in Ohio, though, their output was, because I had some Stereomatic parties, like friends over, and I had some like reels that I had custom made, and they were saying like, we couldn't tell the difference between your custom reels and the ViewMaster reels. They're really extremely high quality, but it's something that, you know, stuff that's digital, like stuff shot with the Fuji cameras or whatever. I think even the way that film looks is something that Image 3D and their process is kind of hard to top, that there's just something about the resolution and everything with that original film and the way that it magnifies. Because it's something, when you're, as you guys were bringing up, those images are so tiny that magnification, all that stuff is so much more apparent that you don't even, I think there's a lot of things that you forgive about 35 millimeter slides because those chips are so big. But when you've got the teeny ViewMaster thing, it's a challenge. That whole workflow of finding original personal reel mounts and the cutters on eBay, I think that is the way to go if you really want to do custom reels.
Maybe what we'll do too is just, we can always make a breakout room, and if people want to go in there just to discuss specifically that, maybe you can pop into there. But we'll just, maybe if we'll just move to the hands. I know that, do you want to add anything?
I have a totally unrelated thing that I wanted to ask Wolfgang and Marianne. So because color printing for books is like a lot more affordable these days, have you guys thought about making a new book?
Well, you have to remember, all the photos that we have in there, 99% of them are black and white. So color printing isn't going to change a whole lot.
But even like the stuff that you just showed us, that, you know, having some sort of a way of archiving and documenting that, and even like taking new photos of the stuff that you have in your collection.
Well, yeah, well, you have to remember that our first book was history, and the history was based on plant photos and the plant magazines and personal interviews and so on. 99% of that is all black and white. So
okay, so
and yeah, most of the people are dead now. I think there's only 3 alive that we interviewed anymore. So
we got a bunch of questions in the chat.
Thanks.
But consider that. That sounds good. So Leslie Fagan, looks like you're unmuted. You there? sounds like maybe you're. Oh,
With these things, I have all the ones that go inside.
can you? We can't hear you very well.
This is the ViewMaster virtual reality.
Yes.
They don't fit the phones that are made nowadays. The phones are too big. So what do we do with these?
You throw them away. They were junk to start with, and they don't even support the apps anymore. You can't even download them. So find a phone that fits it and use some other app. That's about it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, but that's the way it is.
We have them too.
Somebody put in chat if you've done anything with them, but yeah, they look like they're junk. Bob Swarth, you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Here I am. Wolfgang and Marianne, I met you very briefly at the Irvine convention, and I enjoyed talking to you then. Since then, I have a question about the TrueView. I have some of the cards, but I just recently found out that they had originally been sold as rolls. Can you tell me anything about that? Film strips?
Oh yeah, sure.
Was that before
they came,
Sawyer bought them, or whoever?
They're very early. They came out in the 30s. There's lots and lots of different film strips, and they were black and white to start with, and then they started doing some color ones right before the end. But Sawyer's bought them out basically because TrueView had gotten the rights to Disney, and Disney was not going to sell them the rights to do anything at Sawyer's, so they just bought the company that had the rights. So then they took over, and for a few years they made both ways still, but they very quickly phased out the slides. The rolls are fun.
Viewer.
Yeah.
This is a 30s
I've got a
model.
film strip here in my hand. It's just a roll of film here, basically, is what they are. They're very nice, but they're all very old now. And you can snap one across the room very easily, and they have a bad habit of breaking when you do that. So
I have a
viewer
viewer somewhere, and I have a viewer for the cards somewhere. And when the part of it is very interesting. Sheldon Aronowitz found these sample. They look like a TrueView card, but instead of the film chips, it's paper. It's like it's a demonstration of what it could be, I guess. And I wonder if that was
those were much later. Those were kids' toys and real cheap giveaways. And at the end of production, they kind of sold the rights to who was that? I can't remember, but some other company actually kind of took the format over, and they're absolutely horrible.
So they had a viewer that you
one
could.
Of those things. You just basically see dots. It's they're not printed very well. That was very short-lived, and it kind of went away. But I don't know if I mentioned if when we got to the GAF one, there was no more TrueView section in that. They had already gotten rid of the TrueView because they figured out that they were competing with themselves by having the same subjects in a card format and the round format.
So when do you think
it was cheaper just to make one?
So when did the TrueView, the roll version of it, end? In the 30s or the 40s?
Oh no, it went on to probably the 50s somewhere. I don't know the exact date.
Because one of our members in our New York group had a roll like that, and I was surprised because I thought I only think TrueView I knew were the cards. So
right. But I think it was somewhere in the late 50s they quit making the film strips.
Yeah, he has a roll of New York City in film strip form, which and they must have been Kodachrome or there was something where it didn't fade. I don't think so.
Well, the early ones were all black and white. Those are fine. The color ones. Yeah, here's what one of the boxes looks like.
Yes. Yes.
Strips, yeah.
One of the more amusing things is, TrueView, the way they spelled it, in England, when they sold it, they couldn't bring themselves to spell it that way. They had to spell it correctly.
There's an Australian version called Aussie Superviews, whether you can see that or not, with a lever at the bottom.
But
and rolled films from the 1950s. All of the Australian cities, really, I suppose, a knockoff of the TrueView. I don't remember seeing TrueView being released in Australia, but this was certainly around if you can find them. They made them in black and in red.
And Britain also made a knockoff called the Sightseer. This is a Sightseer.
And predating all of those was Novel View.
Novel View, yeah.
Novel View came out in the early 30s, and it's exactly the same as TrueView, the same box with them.
And DeVry, the film projector company, also made one. DeVry.
And then there's also the Filmoscope,
that one
which is a folding viewer from the 30s. And that one, I've got a strip for that. That's all silent movie stars. So, it goes back a ways. Lots of different ones.
Well, the nice thing about the old TrueView is they would do subjects that ViewMaster would never touch.
Such as?
Well,
Sally Rand.
Yeah, Sally Rand Bubble Dance.
Sally Rand.
The Sally Rand's Nude Ranch. Dude Ranch.
The night at somebody's bar, that kind of stuff. Yeah, there was a
Earl Carroll's.
Yeah, the Earl Carroll Theater. Girly stuff, but not nudity, but just still ViewMaster would never go quite that direction.
Well, Sally Rand, some of those were in fact topless.
Yeah. There's sorry to move it to a different place, but there's a question about
actually I have a question since Mike Levine's on here. The Australians came up with a ViewMaster lookalike called Sightseer, where the images are actually upside down on a ViewMaster. I'm wondering if Mike ever found a viewer to go with that, because I don't think anybody's ever seen one.
No, you talk about a green Model C, a Sightseer with that, the lenses on the top as they show the picture of them. Never found one. We've got the photoscope knockoffs, which is exactly like the old Model Cs, but not Sightseer. And I must say, if I ever found one, well, I'd announce it to the world. I can't imagine that.
Us too.
David Starkman, can you tell us about the ViewMaster exhibition that you guys ran years ago?
What do you mean exhibition?
The ViewMaster competition exhibition.
No, our club used to have you could enter ViewMaster reels in the competition.
There was a total ViewMaster exhibition.
Well, I guess I'm losing my memory. I don't know.
David Coons here, he might know about it.
We had one at the 3D Center, Lee, in Portland.
Yeah, we've had
one in. There was one in
California as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one. I remember. I think Chris Olsen ran it. Chris Olsen ran it.
Yeah, but it was.
We only got 7 entries, and it was personal reels, but they were pretty good.
Yeah, they were mine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
which one was yours? Was that the soldier one?
I did one on the Wave in New Mexico, Arizona, and I don't remember what else, but there were several exhibitions, ViewMaster only.
Well,
yeah, I remember.
We always had a component. When Susan and I joined the LA 3D Club in 1977, they, in addition to Stereo Realist, they were also showing ViewMaster. And for at least the first year and almost 2 years, they had to talk us into using a Stereo Realist. We were only entering ViewMaster pictures for the first couple of years.
I'll try to go find a catalog.
Okay.
Yeah, I do remember it quite well.
Didn't Walter Sieg and Sheldon do a separate ViewMaster room at some of the conventions for a while?
Well, they certainly always had a lot of ViewMaster stuff, so I don't know.
What was it 1989 that we toured the ViewMaster factory in Portland?
Yeah, I mean, at the Portland
Yes.
convention, they did do a ViewMaster tour.
So I got a signature of all the directors on a reel, and I inadvertently gave it away to somebody at the convention, not knowing it was the signed one. So somebody has that.
Ah, well, if you're interested somewhere, is Eric Kurland on here at the moment? Well, I believe it's on his.
Yes, yes, David, I am
Tell
here.
about the video. It's on your website, the 3D Space website of the.
Oh,
the reel-making.
yes. David shot 3D footage. Which camera did you use for that, David?
That was taken with the Toshiba 3D camcorder. With
the Toshiba.
Yeah, so it was actually shot in a VHS-C alternating field format, but then converted to whatever you're using now, and I used supplemental close-up lenses to get even closer for some of the shots, and
I'll find the link to the YouTube video and post it in the chat.
Yeah, and just to finish explaining what it is, Susan and I managed to also, on that trip, we got to visit the factory on our own, and during that time, got to actually sit around the reel-making machines for quite a while. And, I shot, it's the only really good video I ever shot with the Toshiba, and Eric's got it online. And it just shows how the reel-making machine works. And that, I think, would be of interest to this group, because it shows how the factory-made reels are made.
So I know that Ken Burgess had a question a while back. So I just wanted to go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to, I made a digitizer for ViewMaster Reels. And I don't know if you can see this very well, but it has a light on the end, and then there's a slider here that slides the reels between the two sides. And then this is a macro lens reversed on a macro adapter with the D750. So it zooms in so that the ViewMaster frame is full frame on the 35 millimeter, well, square, but takes the full height. And you do one side, and then you flip it over and do the other side, and then advance to the next reel like that.
Ken, you're a whiz bang.
Brad Goulet made a real simple thing with his 3D printer. You just put your reel right on there, and you put this lens thing on top. You put your phone on there, and there you go. You could use your phone to take the images, and it works great.
I think Brad's in the meeting right now. I've got one of them.
Well, that's got nothing on Ken's quality.
Oh yeah.
Whatever he's gonna get. Yeah, Ken, you need to do a Kickstarter and mass produce those.
Yeah, I never planned to make them more than one. I just made this one. I bought a reel of World War II aircraft, or not a reel. They have a whole book of all the aircraft that were used in World War II, and I thought I'd digitize that, so I made this to do that. So.
Pretty exciting, by the way, to see in back of Ken just what it is that Ken the Wizard is doing. So if you've ever seen the cyclopetal attachments, that's all Ken right there. So
yeah, I think I have all of them.
Well, thank you.
Here is a catalog. Here is a catalog from the Stereo Club of Southern California, 1996 ViewMaster International Stereo Sequence Exhibition. David Starkman and Susan Pinsky entered it.
Well, I'm losing my memory. You'll have to
Been a while.
I know maybe Carl Wilson had a question. Are you there, Carl?
Oh, actually, my question got answered with David Starkman talking about the reel stamping machines. I'd like to see that video.
He's put the link there.
Yeah. Okay.
And somebody says they have a question about the personal camera. Patricia.
Oh, if she wants to unmute.
Or she's asking about the workflow, and someone else, I
Oh,
think, has a
Trish.
question.
Yeah. I think what you mentioned, and Bob Aldridge also just sent a note to me, but the method of taking your digital images, putting them on to a color positive roll, and then getting that roll developed and putting them back into the personal cutter. Is that like all manual, like the Photoshop template to set up this reel of images, or is there a better?
I've never done it. I don't know if one of the other people who's done it.
I mean, I've done it. I did it once.
Yeah.
There's a Photoshop
I put a
template.
template on my site.
I've done it quite a bit.
I was hoping that with 18 years or so that have passed since I did it last, there might be a better way than, than that way.
Shoot it with the ViewMaster camera to start with. That's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Wait, and I see there's a Jan Robert Williamson has a question about the personal camera.
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
So my question is, I want to take pictures of my own, and Wolfgang said that there was a quality difference between the first and the second model of the cameras. And is this a build quality or is it picture quality difference?
Can I speak to that?
I would say it's a build quality
Yeah.
more than anything.
I already wrote something in the chat, but I'll repeat it. It's the Mark II is definitely a much more cheaply made camera physically, but optically, it's an excellent camera. I used it for several years because at a certain age, Susan and I just seemed to be invited to a lot of weddings and other parties and things. And I loved it for doing that for two reasons. The camera has 20mm lenses instead of 25mm lenses. And when you're talking about that tiny of a picture, that's a big wide angle difference. And so you get a bigger picture area. And I could get better consistent. I was using this monster potato masher. Maybe I shouldn't use a very big flash to go with it. You know, one with a bracket, and the Mark II has both an M and X sync PC outlets, and it's pretty consistent. Whereas my personal, you got the X sync just doesn't really always is not always consistent. So I found I got very good results with the Mark II. You know, optically, the pictures were very good.
If you get a good one, they break very easily.
Yeah, the weak point is it's got a push down a film advance, or if you're British, a wind on, and and it only moves 3.5. It moves the film 3.5 sprockets versus 8 sprockets on the Mark II, and it pivots at this one little thin point, and that's where it breaks. And Charlie Piper, who used to repair cameras, said if he could get somebody to make a metal replacement, then the camera would be really robust. But that's a very weak point in the camera. But like I said, the one I've got, it's, you know, had it for like 35 or more years, it still works. When I shot a couple of years ago, my last ViewMaster pictures, I used that camera, not the personal, because I wanted to do a lot of flash pictures.
The other aspect of the personal camera, of the European camera, is that the film is diagonal. So you can get a vertical error if you don't exactly align the pictures in the cutter.
It is more prone to a vertical error because any horizontal jiggle in the cutter translates to a vertical misalignment in the reel.
But the rod and stock lenses on the personal camera, on the European camera, are very, very good anyway. But there is that problem with the mechanical positioning of the film. You have to be aware of that.
Yeah, but you know, it is a camera capable of taking very good pictures.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's maybe
also
Valerie
simpler.
in the has her hand raised. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm looking at the backgrounds. I'm noticing that several people have lots of ViewMasters behind them, like Scott and Jen and Michael from Australia and Jay, and of course, Wolfgang and Marianne. So I'm wondering from you, what are some of your favorite reels that you like?
Oh, I guess I'll go first. My favorite reels are the commercial reels, the advertising reels. They did everything from gas pumps to beer to travel trailers, bread, corsets for women, dresses, you name it. And a lot of these go back basically to the 40s. And there are some really, really great shots in there. Like there's one set called Erie that sold gas pumps. And there are all these great shots of these gas stations with the 1940s cars in them. And that one, absolutely love those. As far as the reels that they actually printed, quite honestly, there are a bunch of good ones. I like the ones that Joe Liptak made the most. He was, in my opinion, one of their best artists. Also, the little yellow dinosaur is very good that Mary Lewis made. They don't get a whole lot of credit, but when you see the artwork that went into those, they're just fantastic reels. But I don't know what everybody else likes. I mean, if you kind of want to go around, you're welcome to.
Okay, I'll talk. First of all, the background is from Unity, which is a VR software company in San Francisco. And I don't collect reels, don't have any favorites, except, let's see, Image 3D donated 10 reels to the Mermaid Parade in 2013. They were pretty decimated by Hurricane Sandy. And this was great for fundraising. So shout out to Image 3D.
Thanks. Those folks on, there was a question before about who runs it. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I had asked that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Image 3D?
Yeah.
Rich Dubno.
Oh,
That's
I
his
thought he
company.
retired.
He invented it. He was one of ViewMaster's main photographers for many years. And then he went off on his own when ViewMaster moved up to New York. And he basically invented the system. He's got it patented now. And they make great reels, image3d.com. They'll make them for you. You can upload your images online if you want 2D images. If you want 3D images in your reel, you have to send them to them and they'll make them for you. But considering they'll make you one reel, the price is pretty reasonable, I think.
And then Jen and Scott, is that a real background behind you?
Yes, it's just our stuff. Yeah. As far as reels go, we really like the any of the World's Fair stuff.
Especially the 64.
Yeah, 64 is our favorite. We like the commercial reels; those are always really interesting. But I also like really oddball stuff, like buying people's personal reel collections. You know, just random people you don't even know, and seeing the kind of images that they took. Well, a lot of them are pretty bad. You know, you really gotta kind of weed them out. But every once in a while, you end up with some, gold. Like, I picked up a set that had a single shot on it, and the pair of shots was somebody's counter of a camera store that sold ViewMaster stuff. So it's a period picture from probably the 50s, and but it's it's the front counter of their store with the light up display sign and all kinds of neat stuff like that. So just weird things like that. Stranger the better. Like
I made a couple shows with advertising reels and so on that I put on YouTube. So if you look them up, you can find them.
Wolf.
I think Eric was going to put them on his 3D space
Yeah,
site,
I have
so
a link here. I'll put a link up. We have one on the LA 3D Club site. Okay, link is now in the chat.
Then Michael from Australia, you have a lot of ViewMasters behind you.
I do. That's actually a picture of my cupboard because it's an odd angle, but it is. That's just one of the cupboards. Basically, I have to agree. I like the commercial reels. Funnily enough, it's the most interesting of the collection. Of course, I like the Australian ones that were made in Melbourne and in Australia. A limited number of them, but a lot of them are very similar to the American ones. And of course, the sightseer ones, which are so different because they're all upside down, and they have various views of Australia. Again, most of them are reproduced in the exactly the same way in the ViewMaster reels as well. I think that's all. I like collecting the people's personal reels. It's a bit peculiar, but it's always interesting to look at people's personal reels to see what they were doing, and a lot of them are older, and you see back in the 60s and 50s, or 60s anyway, which is quite interesting. Commercial reels, yeah. General reels, no particular favorites. The ones that ViewMaster put out, I collect them, but no particular favorites. I suppose demonstration reels are interesting because when you go through all the different variations of demonstration reels, there's one picture different, or there's one logo difference, which is quite interesting as to why they did that and how it was possible. Wolfgang would probably know more than me why that was done, where the differences are so minor, but yet they have a different picture just here and there from time to time. Close up, further away, totally different picture with a similar name. Interesting stuff. That's it.
Be great to see a show on the 3D theater or whatever of some of those great commercial images and things.
Tom Gillum has his hand raised.
Thanks. There seemed to be a lot of interest in the 1939 New York World's Fair reels. And this is one of my personal favorite ViewMaster reels. In 1939, of course, ViewMaster was introduced to the world at the New York World's Fair. When ViewMaster first came out, the reels were housed in these very, very exquisite gold and black envelopes that quickly went to these gold sleeves that are very similar to what you see today in construction, but very, very flimsy actually, but gold foil. And the reels themselves were blue front and back with a gold foil pasted on area that gave the information for each of the reels. I consider these 1939 New York World's Fair reels to be pretty much the holy grail as far as collecting reels go. And I got very fortunate to be able to actually collect all 4 of the 1939 New York World's Fair reels in the gold foil format. So that's, people were asking about reels. If you're a ViewMaster reel collector, look for these.
That's a personal favorite of mine. And also, I think they only did the 4 in the gold foil, and then they reissued them, but only 2 are available. So I think only the earliest set are 4 different reels for the 39 World's Fair.
Wolfgang, Marianne, were all 4 of those reels available as Blue Ring? I'm not certain myself.
I don't remember right off the bat. I know the gold ones went out very quickly because they had one big problem that the foil scratched so easily from going around in the viewer. So they were very short-lived, and then they went to a cream colored front with a blue back, and then they actually printed a blue ring around them. That's actually printed on. I think they were thinking it was darker so it would show better, and then they figured out it was totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
But
does anybody else agree with me that I think the gold centered reels, that the dupe film quality is much higher than anything they produced after the gold reel centers? Because I think they were going directly from 2¼ inch size master, slides down to the film, and later they did an intermediate dupe film thing.
I would have to say is having examples of every incarnation, the gold foil, the blue ring, the buff, the white. I would have to say that there is very little difference in the image quality from one to the other. In fact, the thing that I have noticed is that a lot of the imperfections, when you see an imperfection in a ViewMaster reel, a lot of those imperfections are in the original negatives or in the original contact prints or whatever, because there'd be like whiskers visible, and they're on the blue ring, they're on the gold foil, they're on the buff, they're on the white. They're just consistent throughout. They weren't very quality conscious, I think, even out of the gate.
I actually wanted to answer one of the earlier questions. My copies of the original 1939 reels, I have them on the buff reels. So they did go through the foil and then the blue, and then and those for me were the most affordable. And some of the earliest gold foil and some of those, it seemed like a lot of the film tended to warp on at least the ones that came up for sale to me, that those buff ones were the most affordable and the flattest images, and those have served me well.
I think a lot of the damage done to the early reels was actually done by the viewers. The A and the B viewers, the advanced mechanism was terrible. It damaged the reels significantly. You'll find a lot of early blue ring and gold foil reels are warped and wrinkled and in horrible condition, and it's all because of the viewers. I feel
no, it's not just the viewer, it's also due to storage. But going back to David's about the quality of the images, all the blue rings and the hand letters were all shot in larger formats, usually with like a stereoflectoscope or a relighoscope. So you had a very large starting image. Later on, they switched to the varoscopes so you have a lot smaller image to shoot from. So the quality would have degraded, because all the ViewMaster images are actually taken and then they're rephotographed on the movie film that they cut to put in the reels. Say that, so you're in the second generation to start with in a reel. But I think the size of the original is what dictates the sharpness of the first one. I don't know. You agree, David?
I think so. It definitely has something to do with it. I know by the time we had, in 1979, we had a promotional reel made at the factory. And when we got we sent them both Varoscope and realist format images. And when we got everything back, we saw what they had done is they made basically a 2 1/4, 2 1/4 interneg that they mount on a pin registered card that they had their own system for duping.
Right.
And I think that was based on when they originally started making the reels, they were putting Kodachrome originals 2 1/4 inch into those things. And so it was going straight from a Kodachrome positive to their Kodachrome movie film that the reels were being made with. So I think they were sharper in the beginning.
Well, maybe so, but that didn't, well, I have to confess, I'm not really much of a fan of the later white reels anyway. So, you know, I'm comparing the gold foil and the blue ring and the buff. And they were probably still.
We got one question answered, is though apparently they did have a 4-reel set of the World's Fair in the buff with the blue ring. By the time they went to the all white reel, I believe they only had 2 reels available for the 39 World's Fair.
I think that's true.
Yeah. Anyway, we should go on to some other subject.
So actually, you know, I think we're gonna have to wrap it up like really, really soon. And so what I wanted to do before we go is if everybody wants to hold up your favorite or something interesting or whatever, and we'll just take a little screenshot, because this is sort of a a special opportunity. So get a moment to grab something and pop on. And what I'll have to do is switch to some different screens. So we've got 2 screens of people that I can get so far.